Wheat is the backbone of daily meals for billions, connecting people from London to Beijing. The global wheat trade is a complex system, moving millions of tons from surplus nations to those in need. This flow keeps bread, pasta, and noodles on tables worldwide, but it's a delicate balance easily disrupted. When a major exporter like the US faces rejection, the entire market feels the shock. Today, July 2, 2025, we're witnessing a major shift. China is turning away US wheat. This isn't just about trade, it's about changing alliances and new opportunities. Canada is stepping in, poised to become the new preferred supplier. This shift impacts farmers, shippers, and food buyers everywhere. Let's explore how a single grain's journey reveals the fragile, ever-changing nature of our global food supply. In early 2025, American wheat exporters faced a harsh reality. Key markets, especially China, began rejecting their shipments. This sudden shift sent shockwaves through the U.S. agricultural sector, which has long relied on steady demand from overseas buyers to keep the industry thriving. For decades, American wheat has been a staple on the global stage. But now, exporters are grappling with a new and uncertain landscape. U.S. grain exports to China dropped by 57% compared to last year, leaving wheat piling up in American silos. Storage facilities across the Midwest are overflowing, and farmers are left wondering what to do with their unsold harvest. The ripple effects are being felt not just by growers but by truckers, rail operators, and entire rural communities that depend on the grain trade. Why? China's record 2024 harvest means its own granaries are full, reducing the need for imports. Chinese farmers have produced more wheat than ever before, and the country's storage facilities are now brimming with homegrown grain. This bumper crop has shifted the balance, making China less reliant on foreign wheat and more focused on self-sufficiency. Beijing is prioritizing domestic supply to support its farmers and boost food security. By buying local, the government aims to stabilize rural incomes and ensure that Chinese agriculture remains resilient in the face of global uncertainty. This policy shift is part of a broader strategy to insulate the country from external shocks and maintain control over its food supply. But it's not just about crops. Trade tensions and looming U.S. tariffs have made American wheat a risky bet. Ongoing disputes over technology, intellectual property, and other goods have spilled over into agriculture, making Chinese buyers wary of relying too heavily on U.S. suppliers. The threat of sudden policy changes or new tariffs adds another layer of risk to every transaction. Chinese buyers are wary of unpredictable policy shifts that could disrupt supply or raise costs. With so much uncertainty, many importers are turning to alternative sources or simply scaling back their purchases altogether. The result is a slowdown in trade that's being felt on both sides of the Pacific. The result? A perfect storm for U.S. exporters, with China's total grain imports down 51% in January 2025. This dramatic drop has left American wheat stranded, with few easy solutions in sight. Exporters are scrambling to find new markets, but the process is slow and competition is fierce. While all exporters feel the pinch, the U.S. is hit hardest due to added political friction. Other countries may be able to pivot more quickly, but American farmers are caught in the crossfire of international disputes and shifting alliances. These rejections aren't about wheat quality. They reflect a changing global landscape where politics and self-sufficiency drive decisions. The world's grain trade is no longer just about supply and demand. It's about national priorities, strategic reserves, and the desire for independence from foreign influence. American exporters now scramble for new buyers, facing uncertainty and shifting global demand. Some are looking to markets in Africa, Southeast Asia, or Latin America, but building new relationships takes time and resources. Meanwhile, prices remain volatile, and the future is anything but certain. The world's wheat map is being redrawn, and the U.S. must adapt quickly. Success will depend on innovation, flexibility, and the ability to navigate a more fragmented and competitive marketplace. The old rules no longer apply. The era of guaranteed markets and predictable trade flows is over, replaced by a new reality where adaptability is key. The future of American wheat depends on finding new partners, innovating supply chains, and navigating a more volatile market. For U.S. farmers and exporters, the challenge is daunting, but so is the opportunity to reshape their place in the world's food system. China's grain strategy is no accident. It's a calculated move for national security. For decades, China has viewed food security as a cornerstone of its stability, and recent years have only intensified this focus. The government's approach is rooted in the belief that a nation as large and populous as China cannot afford to rely too heavily on foreign suppliers for its most basic needs. By modernizing agriculture and building massive reserves, China's 2024 bumper harvest is a policy success. Investments in advanced machinery, improved irrigation, and high-yield crop varieties have transformed the countryside. These efforts have not only increased output, but also created a buffer against global supply shocks and price swings. Now China can buy only when prices are low or for grains it can't produce, wielding huge influence over global prices. This strategic flexibility means China is no longer a captive buyer, but a powerful player that can shape international markets to its advantage. The US, once a top supplier, is now sidelined as China becomes a more selective, strategic buyer. American farmers who once counted on steady Chinese demand are feeling the impact as their biggest customer steps back. US soybean sales to China have already dropped to a 17-year low, and wheat is following suit. The ripple effects are being felt across rural America, where uncertainty is replacing the predictability of past trade flows. Predictable, large-volume sales are gone, volatility and competition are the new normal. Exporters must now navigate a market where deals are less certain and prices can swing dramatically from season to season. Exporters must diversify and fight for shrinking demand. Building new relationships and finding alternative buyers is now essential for survival in this shifting landscape. China's self-sufficiency forces others to seek new markets and adapt. Countries that once relied on Chinese demand must innovate, improve quality, and compete harder to secure their place in the global grain trade. As China steps back, other nations with growing needs will look for reliable suppliers. Emerging economies with rising populations and changing diets are becoming the new battlegrounds for exporters. The global wheat dance continues, but China's pivot is changing the choreography. The balance of power is shifting and every player must adjust their steps to keep up. Exporters must keep pace or risk being left behind. In this new era, adaptability and foresight are the keys to survival in the ever-evolving world of global grain trade. As uncertainty surrounds US wheat, buyers are turning to Canada for stability. Canada's vast prairies and high-quality wheat have always been assets, but now they're in the spotlight. Canada's stable trade environment and government-backed quality control make it a trusted supplier. Buyers know Canadian contracts will be fulfilled without political drama. Canadian wheat's reputation for consistency and quality is unmatched. This reliability is drawing in major importers across Asia and the Middle East. Canada isn't just filling a gap, it's becoming the new standard in global wheat trade. The shift is fundamental, not just a temporary reaction. The US and Canada handle grain trade very differently, shaping how buyers see them. The US system is privatized and competitive, but this can mean less standardization and occasional inconsistencies. Canada, by contrast, has the Canadian Grain Commission, a federal agency that certifies every export's quality and grade. This government-backed guarantee gives buyers confidence that every shipment meets strict standards. For international mills, consistency is crucial. Canada's system eliminates risk. The US lacks a single, unified certification, making some buyers nervous. Canada's legacy of coordinated marketing and quality assurance is a powerful selling point. In a nervous market, Canada's unity and reliability stand out. Buyers want assurance and Canada delivers. The US must adapt if it wants to regain trust. Wheat market disruptions are part of a wider pattern of global supply chain instability. China's suspension of Brazilian soybean imports in 2025 shows even top suppliers aren't immune to sudden shocks. These events highlight the risks of relying on a single source. Buyers are now prioritizing diversification and resilience over just low prices. Canada's stability is more attractive than ever as buyers seek to avoid political and logistical chaos. The old model, buying from the cheapest, biggest supplier, is fading. Now, reliability and predictability are just as important as price. Emerging exporters like Romania, Ukraine, and Australia may benefit as buyers spread their risk. The global food system is becoming more complex, but also more resilient. For US farmers, rejected wheat shipments mean lower prices and tighter margins. A surplus at home drives prices down, making it harder for farmers to plan or invest. Many face tough choices: stick with wheat and hope for new markets, or switch crops and gamble on uncertain returns. The stress is real. Farming is riskier than ever. Meanwhile, Canadian farmers are thriving as demand and prices rise. They're investing in their operations and seeing prosperity return to rural communities. The contrast is stark. Trade policy decisions abroad directly shape farmers' fortunes at home. U.S. farmers are searching for new buyers, while Canadians reap the rewards of stability. The global wheat shift is personal for those who grow it. The shakeup in the global wheat trade has sent shockwaves through the shipping industry, disrupting long-established routes and routines. Ports that once bustled with activity are now quieter, and the rhythm of international trade has changed almost overnight. China's dramatic 51% drop in grain imports has left many ships without cargo, sending freight rates tumbling. The Baltic Panamax Index, a key measure of shipping costs, has plunged by 41%, reflecting the sudden oversupply of vessels and the lack of demand for grain transport. With fewer shipments to move, shipping companies are now fiercely competing for the remaining business. This intense rivalry is squeezing profits and forcing operators to rethink their strategies, as many ships sit idle or wait longer for their next assignment. But trade isn't vanishing, it's simply rerouting. As old trade flows dry up, new ones are emerging, with ships charting unfamiliar courses to reach new buyers and markets. U.S. exporters, facing a shrinking Chinese market, are now seeking out new buyers in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. This shift is creating fresh shipping routes and opportunities, as American grain finds its way to distant shores. The sudden U.S. surplus caused global wheat prices to drop at first, offering relief to food-importing nations and lowering costs for millions of consumers. But this price drop has also put pressure on farmers and exporters to adapt quickly. However, premium Canadian wheat is bucking the trend. Its price is not only holding steady, but even rising, as buyers seek out reliable, high-quality sources amid the uncertainty. Canadian exporters are seeing a surge in demand, especially from countries prioritizing quality and consistency. Buyers now face a new dilemma, balancing price against reliability and risk. They must decide whether to chase the lowest cost or pay more for stable, trustworthy supply chains. The definition of value in the grain market is evolving. Stability, consistency, and the ability to deliver on time are becoming just as important as price, reshaping how deals are made and who comes out ahead. Canada is reaping the benefits of this new landscape, while the U.S. must now prove it can offer more than just a bargain. Reputation, reliability, and service are becoming key differentiators in a crowded market. The global grain market is adapting to a new reality, one where flexibility, trust, and resilience are the true currencies of international trade. The rejection of U.S. wheat and Canada's rise mark a turning point in global food trade. China's self-sufficiency and trade tensions have upended old supply chains. American farmers face uncertainty, while Canada's reliability is in high demand. The lesson: in a volatile world, dependability is a prized commodity. This shift affects everything from shipping rates to bread prices worldwide. The food supply chain is adapting, with buyers diversifying and exporters seeking new markets. The future belongs to those who offer not just a good price, but a trustworthy partnership. The global dance of wheat continues, just with new steps and new partners.